shame is pervasive I feel that. The thing is always, and I wish people would really get that, everybody should hang out with very small children because you see all this stuff coming online. Huh? And so Piaget tells us, the operational phase of thinking, everything is about you. And you cannot manipulate it. So if you get beaten or neglected or beaten up, that is you. And that means that you, every child who gets abused, neglected, etc., no child can say, "Oh, I'm really a perfectly lovely child. If I'd been grown, lived in a different family, my people would have played with me and they would have cherished me. But I happen to have parents who were not capable of doing that." No child is able to see that. And so if a child gets neglected and abused, kids make meaning out of the world. And the meaning is, for almost everybody, is because I'm a bad person. And because I have bad thoughts and I do bad things, shame becomes a pervasive element of anybody with a relational trauma. It always is because something happened to me. And the other thing is that, and I showed it in some videotapes I showed to people regularly, is that the perpetrator that was living out there originally comes to live inside of you. And part of your coping with trauma is to have an internal critic who says, "Don't mess up, you're a terrible person," and to try to control yourself so other people will not do what they do to you. And so that internal struggle becomes a very core part of people's internal reality, including more you get down to things, what is not most hurtful thing is not what was done to them, but how ashamed they feel about their own reactions. Like, I saw my sister getting molested and I didn't do anything. I was too scared. Or I saw my mom being beaten up and I didn't hit my dad to stand up for her. Or whatever. So kids make causal connections. And then as an adult, you feel like you should have done something. And not until you really get to really deeply experience what that 1, 2, or 3 or 5-year-old kid went through, and really get to know, oh, that kid was too scared to stand up for themselves, or that kid was too small, or that kid didn't have a chance. And so you need to really revisit the situation and really get a feeling of, man, that kid doesn't have a chance, and so small. But if I had known then what I know now, I would have stopped it. But I'm 54 years old. I'm a karate instructor. Of course, now today I could stop it. But when I was 4, I couldn't. And so kids always blame themselves and are very deeply ashamed about continuing to love their perpetrator, not having done the right thing. It's always very much part of it. And so it's not, there's a lot of focus on that stuff out there. But the issue is that it all starts living inside of you. And the trauma is not a story about something that happened in the past. The trauma is how the past is alive and well and living in your body in 2022. And so it's happening right now. And so how do you deal with these parts of you that are getting stirred up continuously right now? As you work with the inner person and all the scared and upset parts of them, they become less likely to project their issues on other people. So if they, for example, if people say, all these people I work with are such assholes, and you go like, they say they really scare you, they upset you, and you deal with their own triggers of what upsets them so much. They start maybe seeing these people as just flawed human beings rather than people have it in for them. So that's very relevant for trauma, of course, because traumatized people always feel hurt by somebody all the time. Because when you're traumatized, you get very, very vulnerable to take other people's emotions onto yourself and to take it very personally. So the issue when you're traumatized is that your whole alarm system is always ringing. And so any piece of affect you pick up from around you. So you tend to get very vulnerable to respond to other people who are upset, or other people who are angry, or other people who are critical, and you're always on guard, and so you go through life getting hurt a lot. They're very sensitive. They actually, it goes both ways. Sometimes they get very insensitive. They feel nothing, huh? And the DSM-5 has made some progress in that, in really distinguishing these two variations of trauma. One is the hyperreactivity, the other one is the shutting down. And oftentimes many people have a combination. They're shut down part of the time and hyperreactive other parts of the time. And so a very important part of overcoming trauma is to stabilize that internal world of yourself where you're less scared. And that involves some psychotherapeutic issues. Oftentimes, in my practice, certainly involves oftentimes some neurofeedback, where you calm the brain down, so you are not so reactive to everything around you. Getting to know your body, getting to own your body. All these are aspects of getting less vulnerable to other people's emotions. So it becomes more and more possible to say, "Oh, you're angry, and I am not. You're you're a bloviating, self-important person, and I'm not. That's your problem, not mine." I take it to a neuroscience point of view. You need to build up what's called the midline structures of the cortex, which the areas of the brain having to do with self-awareness and self-observation. And so once you really know who you are and what your feelings are, you can say, this guy's having feelings, but they don't match my feelings. As long as you're wide open and very vulnerable, other people's feelings come right in and hijack you. But you see this after meditation. So after people go through meditation retreats, they go back to the same old environment, and they just shake their head and say, "Oh, there he goes again." Instead of going like looking for a confrontation, you go like, that person having a problem. And that's very strongly correlated with activation of the midline structure of the brain, which you can activate when you do prolonged meditation and yoga and its respective work. But to my mind, this has really been one of the great advances in what we have learned in the last 20 years. So this is the whole world of mindfulness, the world of the Mind and Life Institute, the visits from the Dalai Lama to scientific organizations, is to really enhance people's capacity to be mindful and to be aware of what goes on inside of themselves and to meet themselves.